Yo, ever wonder what it would be like if Goku was in high school DXD? No need to wonder anymore, this video will tell you. No need waste time, let's begin. The battle against Majin Buu had ended and our warriors continued with their lives, but a new threat emerged, the god of destruction, Beerus. After their battle and having gained his friendship, our raven-haired hero was lost in thought in Beerus's world. Hey Kakarot, the Saiyan prince called to him. But our favorite Saiyan was lost in his thoughts and didn't hear them calling him. Are you even listening to me, you damn insect? The prince yelled angrily because Goku wasn't paying attention to him, which led him to hit him on the head to bring him back from his thoughts. Ouch, Goku complained, clutching his head in his hands. Why did you do that, Vegeta? Goku demanded, not understanding the reason for the blow. It's your fault for not listening when people are talking to you, stupid, she said angrily. What do you think you're doing, not even paying attention when I arrived? Vegeta, listen, Goku said, looking at him seriously, I'm thinking of leaving. Where are you going? The prince asked, looking him seriously in the eyes. This world has nothing left to offer someone who seeks to become stronger like me, Vegeta. You were the only thing that kept me here until now, but since your daughter was born, you train less and less, and our gap between us becomes more and more apparent, Goku said seriously. Are you saying that you're more powerful than me now? Vegeta said, a vein bulging on his forehead. Even if you don't like to admit it, that's the reality, and you know it too. In the unlikely event that this were the case, have you forgotten that Lord Beerus and Whis are still here? Don't get too cocky, Kakarot, because you're only slightly stronger than me. He finally admitted, reluctantly, that his rival was a bit stronger than him due to neglecting his training to care for little Bra. They don't count Vegeta. Lord Beerus spends all his time sleeping, and Whis is an immortal angel, so I'm thinking of asking Whis if he can take me to some interesting universe. Vegeta was surprised because for the first time he saw his rival say something sensible for a Saiyan, since their blood craves battles and not being idle. And what will you tell your wife and children, insect? Vegeta said to a smiling Goku. That's already been sorted out. She was very angry at first, but she's used to me not being around for years. Besides, I told her I might not come back, so if she wants to get married again, she should. Kakarot, you're either incredibly brave or you're a complete idiot. Vegeta knew Goku's wife's temper well and knew that her fury, like Bulma's, was more terrifying than any enemy they had ever faced. Well, that's all I wanted to talk to you about, Vegeta. He extended his hand towards the prince, who was surprised by the gesture, but after looking into his eyes, he realized that this meant goodbye, and in that way, he extended his hand, and with that handshake, he would say goodbye to his friend and rival forever. Several days later, with everything ready for his departure, he teleported to Beerus's world where Whis was waiting for him. I was starting to think Goku-san wasn't coming, ho ho ho, Whis said with a laugh. I'm sorry, Whis-san, but I had to say goodbye to everyone, Goku said, rubbing the back of his neck. Well, it doesn't matter. If you've finished everything, let's begin. I've been searching among universes without ruling gods, and most of them aren't good for someone with your power. What kind of universes were they? Goku asked with interest. Well, there were several of them. A universe of pirates, another with ninjas, one with people in armor made of precious metals, another of food hunters, and another with people who fought in soul form, said Whis in an amused tone. But if you went to one of those universes, you would be labeled a monster, or worse, because of your power. So there's nothing we can do, Goku said, looking downcast because he couldn't go off on his adventure. He, relax, I finally found a young universe that seems very interesting. But you should know that when traveling between dimensions your body can undergo some changes or you could even get lost. Do you still want to continue with this, Goku-san? Said Whis as a final warning to Goku. He, I couldn't be more excited about this, Goku said with his famous smile. Then that settles it, Whis said, moving his staff forward and creating a dimensional hole. Go ahead, Goku-san, and I wish you all the best in your new life. Thank you, Whis-san, for everything, and thank Lord Beerus as well when he wakes up, Goku said, bowing to his master. Then here we go, but suddenly a large number of key spheres came towards Goku from Beerus's palace, launched while he was sleeping. They began to impact from all sides, and one of them hit directly inside the destabilized portal, swallowing Goku. Who knows where Goku-san ends up? Let's hope it's a good place and he doesn't end up wandering through the dimensional rift forever, he. In another world, a girl with long crimson hair gazed at the stars from a window as she thought. I wonder if true love exists, and if it does, I hope I can find it someday, thought the crimson-haired girl. What she didn't imagine was that she would soon meet that person and it would change everything she knew. 2 months before Issei's death, it was almost nightfall and at Kuo High School a couple of young girls were in their club. Wow, it got quite late without us realizing it with all the paperwork, Ria said as she looked out the window and saw the moon. Era, that's right, Bushu. I think we should retire for today, don't you think? Akano said as she handed Rias a cup of tea. Then let's march too, but she couldn't finish her sentence because she was stunned to see a gap in the sky. What the heck is that? Rias said, confused. Akano peeks out to see what Rias is pointing at and is equally puzzled, not knowing what that strange gap in the sky is. Could it be the work of one of the factions? Akano said with a serious face. I don't think so. For the moment, everything is peaceful between the 3 factions, and that thing about the sky. I don't think it's something someone from this world could create. Don't you feel the powerful energy emanating from that thing? Rias replied, looking confused about what it was. At that moment, as the 2 young women are wondering what that could be, something bursts out of the gap at high speed and crashes into the back of the building, making the whole school shake. Rias, something flew out of the breach. Akano exclaimed, startled. Rias nodded in agreement, and as they were about to leave to see what had emerged, the breach closed. That strange gap is closing after that thing was launched out, Rias thought, even more confused by the strange events. Come on Akano and prepare for the worst, Rias said to her partner. Understood, Bushu, Akano replied, changing into her lightning priestess attire. When the 2 young women arrived at the place where the object that came out of the breach had crashed, to their surprise they saw that inside the enormous crater there was an injured young man. Is this young man the object that came out of that strange rift? Akano said, confused by what she was seeing. That seems to be the case, Akano. For now, we should take him to the club, and then when he wakes up, he can explain where he came from, Rias said. Akano and Rias prepared to carry the young man, but to their surprise, they couldn't move him even an inch off the ground. What on earth is this kid made of? He weighs like a truck, Rias said, astonished by the boy's strange weight. Era, this way we're not doing anything, it's best to use magic to make him levitate to the club, Akano said in an amused voice. I don't know what you find funny about this situation but you're right, let's do that. And with that said, they moved the unconscious young man to the club's lounge. Once inside, they laid him on the sofa and saw that he had several wounds. They proceeded to remove his clothes and at that moment realized that the young man's weight was coming from those clothes. What on earth are these clothes made of? They weigh a ton, said Rias, struggling to pull off his shirt. It's not just the shirt, look at the wristbands, the boots, even the obi are made of that strange, super heavy material, Akano replied, surprised that a human could move with that weight without being affected by gravity. Another mystery about the boy from the breach. Breach boy, Akano asked, surprised by her companion's lack of sense when giving names. We'll have to call him somehow, Rias said. But you could have thought of a better name, Akano chides him with a smile. He came out of the breach, right? Well, Breach Boy is what we'll call him until he wakes up, Rias said, puffing out her chest proudly, causing a bead of sweat to appear on Akano's forehead. After an hour they finally managed to take off his shirt, leaving his body exposed and the 2 young women with a look of surprise upon seeing the boy's body. Can this even be possible? Rias thought as she looked at the young man's sculpted body, which was all muscle without an ounce of fat. Era was the only thing that went through Akano's mind as she licked her lips at the sight of that body that not even the best statue could achieve. Akano, touch it, it's as hard as steel, Rias said to her companion as she touched the young man's chest. It's true, Rias, his body seems to be made for battle, Akano said as she ran her hands over his perfectly formed abs. Who the hell are you? Rias thought as she ran her hand over the young man's forehead, parting the hair that covered his face, and looking closely at that face she thought he was quite a handsome boy. Era, it seems our friend from the breach is handsome too, Akano said as she looked at the face of the unconscious young man. Once the young man's treatment was finished, the 2 women prepared to go home, leaving him to rest. The next morning the young man woke up with the first rays of the sun, quite confused to realize that he was in a place he did not know. Where am I? The young man said to himself, but at that moment he felt an energy approaching the place where he was. A negative energy is approaching, it doesn't seem very powerful, I think it's at the level of Dao Pai Pai, the young man thought. Well, we'll see how this ends. At that moment the door opened and a young woman with crimson hair entered, staring in surprise at the young man with wild hair. Oh my, it seems you've finally woken up, the girl said to the young man. So you were the one who brought me to this place? The young man asked. That's right, my partner and I brought you here after you shot out of that strange gap and crashed behind the building, Rias replied to the confused young man. Oh, well thank you very much, what's your name? Said the young man with a smile that made Rias's heart flutter. I'm sorry for not introducing myself, my name is Rias. Rias Grimoire of the Grimoire clan, and what's your name? Rias asked the young man who was smiling innocently. Hi Rias, nice to meet you. I'm Son Goku, but you can just call me Goku, said Goku, giving her his famous smile which made Rias's heart beat again. Nice to meet you, Goku, she replied with a smile. What on earth is happening to me? Why is my heart beating so fast when I see his smile? Rias thought, not understanding why this was happening to her. Well Goku, I'd like to know where you're from, but it's best to wait until the other club members arrive, Rias said as she sat down at her desk. Club? Goku asked, a large question mark hovering over his head. Don't you know what a Goku club is? Rias said to the confused Saiyan. Not at all, he replied. It seems I'll have to teach you a lot of things, but that will be after the others arrive, Rias said with a drop of sweat to the Saiyan, to which he replied with an, okay. Several minutes passed, and as Goku looked out the window, he sensed three energies similar to Rias's approaching. At that moment, the door opened, revealing Akeno, who stared in surprise at the Saiyan at the window. She was followed by Kiba Yuto and Tuho Kaneko, who looked at the Saiyan in confusion. Era, it seems you've woken up, UFU, Akeno said with that seductive smile to Goku. Well, we're all here, so we can begin, Rias said, signaling everyone to sit down and letting Goku start his presentation. Hello everyone, my name is Son Goku, but you can call me Goku, he said to everyone with his typical smile, which made Akeno and Kaneko's hearts flutter a little. Hello, I'm Himahima Akeno. Nice to meet you, Goku, she said with a playful smile. I'm Kiba Yuto, it's a pleasure, Goku-san, Kiba said, giving a small bow. I'm Tuho Kaneko, nice to meet you, said the loli with her face expressionless. And these are all the members of the Occult Research Club, Rias said, but Goku was puzzled and asked. But you're not human, are you? Goku replied, surprising everyone. How do you know we're not human, Goku? Rias asked. Because I feel a negative energy coming from all of you, she replied to Rias's question. Can you sense people's energies, Goku? Akeno asked. Don't you guys? Goku said, causing a bead of sweat to form on everyone's forehead. Well, it's true that we're not human, we're demons, Rias said, confusing the Saiyan. Do you know what a demon is, Goku? Of course I know, but the demons I remember are nothing like you. They were ugly and strange, and you are beautiful and look like normal humans, Goku replied, making the three girls blush. Thank you, but we're real, look. And after saying that, they all showed their respective wings. Wow, the Saiyan exclaimed in surprise. Now that you know this, it's your turn to tell us where you come from and why you came out of that strange rift, Rias proposed, to which the Saiyan nodded and prepared to tell them his story. A couple of hours after the Saiyan finished telling them all about his adventures, only silence could be heard in the occult club room as they stood with their mouths agape after hearing everything. Are you telling me that in your world there are beings who can destroy galaxies as if it were nothing, and that you are an alien whose planet was destroyed by a universal emperor out of fear of your race? Rias said, stunned by the story she had just heard, still unable to believe it. That's right, did I say something strange? Are there no people in this world who can do those things? Goku asked, confused, with question marks in his head. Of course they don't exist. They all shouted at the same time with perfect synchronization. That's strange, I asked Whis to send me to a world where there were strong people, Goku said, confused. That Whis you're talking about is the angel who serves the god of destruction you told us about, Kiba said. Yes, he was supposed to have found a world where he could fight strong people, but when he was about to enter the portal. Ah, Goku exclaimed, remembering what happened. Did you remember something, Goku? Rias asked, worried by the Saiyan's expression. Yes, I remember that at that moment Bill's Sama started throwing energy balls and one hit me, throwing me into the chasm, and when I was regaining my balance, many more came in, and that's all I remember, Goku told the club members. I see, which is why you've been wandering aimlessly and just happened to end up here in Kuo, Rias said after analyzing what Goku had said. But there's one thing that doesn't quite fit in your story, Goku, Rias said seriously. Something doesn't fit, Goku said, confused and not understanding. Exactly, according to your story you said you have two sons, Gohan and Goten. Right, yes, that's what I said. What's so strange about that? Goku said, even more confused by the question. How can someone as young as you have a married child and a 12-year-old child? That's what I don't understand, Rias said, leaving Goku with a raised eyebrow, completely bewildered. I'm not young, if I remember correctly I should be about 43 years old, Goku replied, to which the members of the Occult Research Club gave him a strange look. Do you really think you're that age? Haven't you looked in a mirror yet? Akeno said to the now completely confused Goku. Then Rias pointed to the mirror on the wall, and Goku approached to look at himself, as he no longer knew what to think, to find in the mirror his self from when he fought Piccolo in the World Tournament. Huh, how did I get young again? He was completely surprised and kept looking around, but suddenly said, oh well, what can you do? Putting his hands behind his head and smiling, which made everyone fall over in an anime style. You're a very carefree person, aren't you? Kiba said, Yufufufu, Goku-san is a very interesting person, laughed Akeno, who was looking at Goku as if she were very interested in him. Goku-senpai is strange, said Kaneko while eating cookies. Hey Goku, what will happen now to your wife and children? Rias asked, to which the Saiyan replied, oh, don't worry about that. My ex-wife has surely found someone better than me. My son Gohan is married, and Goten is with his mother, so I'm free to do whatever I want, Goku said nonchalantly. Didn't you love your wife or what? Rias asked, confused. Love, what's that? Goku said, which left everyone wide-eyed. You were married with 2 children and you tell me you don't know what love is? Rias said, raising an eyebrow. Well, I got married because of a promise. I thought that asking for my hand in marriage meant they would give me something tasty to eat, he said, scratching his head. Rias and the others thought, how can she be so innocent? Well Goku, putting that aside, I'd like you to show us a little of your power, Rias said as the others nodded. That's fine by me, but let's go outside. I don't want this place to fall apart, Goku said, to which the others nodded, though still thinking he was exaggerating. Once outside the club building, they walked a little ways away, and then Goku prepared to increase his ki. If you're ready, watch, to which everyone stared intently to see what the Saiyan would do. Ha! Goku shouted and began to raise his ki, making the whole place tremble, while Rias and her group watched in fear the incredible power they were witnessing that was coming from Goku. Is this even possible? Rias said, but she said it in an almost inaudible voice. The ki increased more and more, making the white aura surrounding him grow larger, and the club building was beginning to show cracks. But that wasn't the end of it, because in Kuo City everything began to shake. People screamed in fear, thinking it was an earthquake, the biggest of all time, which would later remind him of something terrible. But this spectacle did not go unnoticed by any of the 3 factions, who were terrified by such monstrous power and quickly began to track its position. That's enough, Goku, please stop, Rias shouted, barely able to stay in place due to the pressure, at which point Goku stopped immediately. Is that it? I haven't even released 10% of my base power, Goku said, disappointed, to which everyone stared at him in astonishment. All that power and it wasn't even 10%, Rias said, amazed and terrified by the being in front of her. That was amazing, Kiba said. Powerful, said Kaneko. Yufufufu. Akeno laughed, looking at Goku with carnivorous eyes. So, what now? Goku asked Rias, pulling her out of her thoughts. I must have him no matter what, now that I know how powerful he is, Rias thought, looking at the imposing Saiyan. Hey Goku, would you be interested in becoming a demon? If I become a demon, what would I do? Goku asked, now serious. As part of my clan, you would be under my command as your mistress, Rias said. Goku stood there thinking for a while, which felt like an eternity to Rias, who was nervous. Alright, but on the condition that I won't take orders from you or anyone else. If you accept this, I'll gladly become part of your clan, Goku said, looking seriously into Rias's eyes. Can I know the reason for this condition? Rias asked. Because I'm a Saiyan, and we don't like to bow down to anyone. We're a proud race, or so Vegeta told me. If you don't want to accept my condition, then fine, Goku explained. Rias thought quickly and accepted Goku's conditions, so she quickly began the ritual. However, none of the pieces worked, and as a last resort, she prayed and used the 8 pawns, which were accepted. This made her happy, and she hugged Goku in euphoria, which made her blush deeply and made the others laugh. With everything settled, there was only one thing left to say. Welcome to the occult club, they all said in unison. Oh yes, one more thing, I'll enroll you in school, Rias said. I never went to school, Goku said, surprising everyone. You can at least read, right? Rias asked, no longer surprised by anything the Saiyan said. Master Roshi taught me to read and write, and a little bit of addition and subtraction, Goku said, reminiscing about old times. That's too basic, but it doesn't matter, just pay attention to the lessons and you'll learn something, he told the Saiyan. Well, all that's left is to find you a place to live, Rias told Goku, knowing that he was completely homeless. Thank you, that would be a great help, Rias, Goku said to Rias with his typical smile. Well, let's head home for today, as it's been a very, very long day, Rias said to everyone, thus ending a day that was like a roller coaster for the members of the occult club. At this moment, Rias and Goku are walking towards the Saiyan's new house. Along the way, they talk about many things to get to know each other better. Rias is all smiles and she herself isn't even noticing it, because it seems that being next to the Saiyan brings out a side of her that she doesn't usually show to almost anyone. After a long journey that seemed short as they talked, they arrived at their destination. Here it is, Rias said, showing Goku's new home. So from now on I'll live here, Goku said, amazed by his new home. It was a modern-looking, 2-story house. Let's go inside, Rias said to the Saiyan who was still staring in amazement at his new house. Once inside the house, Rias began to guide him around. Goku was increasingly amazed by his new home, which was fully equipped, but there was a problem, one thing that was most needed by Goku. Hey Rias, he said in a serious voice. Is something wrong, Goku? Is there something you don't like? He asked, noticing that the Saiyan was serious for the first time since they met. If it happens, Rias, and it's something very serious, Goku replied, his gaze becoming increasingly serious, which began to frighten Rias. Tell me what it is and I'll try to fix it, she said nervously, and then he replied, there's no food. Which made Rias fall backward in an anime-style fashion. With a bead of sweat on her forehead, she said, if that's the reason, don't worry. If you'd like, we can go out to dinner together tonight, and tomorrow I'll send for enough food for a whole month. Rias smiled, which made Goku's eyes light up, and he grinned and shouted, well, let's go. Grabbing Rias's hand and dragging her outside, which made her blush bright red. Outside the house, we could see Goku and Rias on their way to a place to have dinner, but there was something else. He had been holding her hand since they left the house, and Rias was so embarrassed that smoke could be seen coming from her head. Go Goku, she stammered, overcome with embarrassment. Tell me, Goku replied as if nothing was wrong, giving him his usual smile. See, could you let go of my hand, people are starting to stare, said Rias, who was almost at her limit of embarrassment. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize, she rubbed the back of her neck while laughing. I never thought holding hands with a boy in the street would be so embarrassing, thought Rias, who usually pretended to be someone unaffected by these things, but was really a damsel in distress at heart. A while later they arrived at their destination, a family restaurant. Rias still didn't know what was coming, and when the waitress handed them the menu, that's when she saw for the first time how someone could eat everything on a menu and still order dessert. How can you fit all that food in your body without exploding, Goku? Rias said, still surprised by Goku's appetite. I couldn't tell you, I've always had this appetite for as long as I can remember, but according to Vegeta, we Saiyans eat so much because our metabolism is faster than that of humans, he replied as if it were something normal, making Rias sigh. Saiyans are something out of the ordinary, she said, raising an eyebrow. Hiya, if you say that you'll make me blush, said Goku, thinking it was a compliment, causing a bead of sweat to appear on Rias's forehead. Well, it's getting late, let's go now, tomorrow will be a busy day, the redhead told the Saiyan. Once they arrived at our hero's house, Rias spoke, Goku, I'll come tomorrow morning so we can pick up your uniform and the things you need for school. Goku nodded. Well, get some rest, Goku, she said with a smile. You too, Rias, see you tomorrow, Goku replied with his typical smile, and thus entered his new home. Rias, still standing in the doorway, stared into space, lost in thought. This is the first time a man hasn't looked at me like I'm a piece of meat, Rias thought. Men always looked at her lustfully, but Goku, all day long, just looked into her eyes, without lust, without malice, just into her eyes, and she didn't dislike that. The more I think about it, the more mysteries I find, and those were his last words as he looked at the moon, before going home. The next morning Rias arrived at Goku's house with Akino, who, for some reason insisted on going with her. Akino, you don't need to skip class and come with us too, Rias said to her classmate in a slightly annoyed tone. Era Rias, do you want to go on a date alone with Goku? Said the black-haired girl, which made the redhead blush. How could you even think of something like that, Akino? Rias said, getting flustered, to which Akino laughed mockingly. We're just going to get her uniform and school supplies, she said, trying to appear calm. Well, if that's all it is, it won't matter if I go too, right? Akino insisted, to which Rias, sighing, had no choice but to accept, even though she felt a little disappointed. Let's go in now, Rias said, and Akino nodded, the two of them entering the house. Once inside, they went upstairs to wake the Saiyan, but to their surprise, he wasn't in his room. He might be in the bathroom, the two said, and went downstairs to discover that he wasn't in the bathroom either. Where could he be? Rias said, confused. Maybe it came out, Akino said to Rias. But where would he go if he doesn't know the city? Rias said, knowing that Goku didn't know the city yet. Let's go look for him then, Akino said to Rias, who was worried that her new servant was lost. But at that moment they heard the front door open and the two went to see what it was, and they found Goku returning from somewhere dirty and sweaty. Goku, where did you go? Rias shouted, and Goku looked at her confused, not knowing what was happening. Is something wrong, girls? Goku asked the two girls, confused because he didn't know what was happening. Era Goku, where have you been all this time? Akino asked the Saiyan. Training, said the dark-haired man. How long have you been training? Rias asked, still a little angry. It's been my daily routine since before dawn, I answered Rias's question. You could have told me this last night so I wouldn't have worried about you being lost, the redhead replied with a sigh of relief upon seeing that Goku was alright. Sorry Rias for worrying you, but everything's fine. I don't think there's anything in this world that could hurt me, Goku replied, chuckling as he put his hands behind his neck. You're overconfident in your strength, Goku, Akino said in a questioning tone. Alright Goku, go take a shower. We have to go to several places today, Rias said, ending the conversation. The Saiyan nodded and went to take a shower. Once outside, the three of them attracted a lot of attention, which was normal for Akino and Rias, as they were beautiful women who weren't seen very often. But Goku was also the target of attention from women of all ages, as he was still wearing his fighting GI, which left his muscular arms on full display, and his chest protruded from his shirt along with his thick neck, and his face was that of someone very attractive. Once they arrived at their destination, Rias asked the saleswoman to bring out a Kuo Academy uniform for Goku. After the saleswoman measured him, which she clearly enjoyed XD, they handed him the uniform, and he went into the fitting room. But a minute later, he came out without the shirt, which caused nosebleeds among the saleswomen and several women in the store. Put on your shirt, Rias yelled at Goku, completely blushing and trying not to look at the Saiyan's body. But Akino was the complete opposite. She looked at him like a lion looks at its prey, licking her lips and with a mischievous smile. This is really annoying, the shirt is too tight, as are the pants, and the jacket is suffocating me, Goku said, looking annoyed by the clothes. Young man, that's the largest size we have, replied the saleswoman, who had a piece of tissue on her nose and a silly smile on her face. You heard Goku, so stop complaining and get dressed already, you exhibitionist. Rias scolded the shirtless Saiyan. Once they finished buying the uniform, and after the saleswomen secretly gave them their numbers, they don't waste any time, and after Rias saw that and tore up the papers with the phone numbers, which made Goku's head spin with a question mark, they continued shopping without much trouble. Once they finished shopping, they stopped for lunch, which was quite a sight for everyone, especially Akino, who was seeing him for the first time and was wide-eyed at Goku's appetite. Back at Goku's house, after putting all the things away, Rias spoke to Goku while they were having tea in the living room. "Goku, tonight we have work to do, so this will be your first job, and you'll have to show us what you can do," Rias said, looking at the Saiyan, who tilted his head in confusion and asked her. "What kind of job is that? If it's something that puts people's lives in danger, I won't do it," he said with a serious look. "Relax, there's nothing that puts anyone in danger," Akino said to calm the atmosphere. "So what's this about?" I asked, looking at the two girls. "A street demon," Rias said. "Street demon, what's that?" the Saiyan asked, confused. A street demon is someone who betrayed their master, which is why they end up becoming a monster that endangers human lives, Rias explained to Goku, who nodded but didn't understand a damn thing. Akino looked at Goku with an amused expression on her face as he nodded, but her face said she didn't understand anything. Rias noticed too, and with a sigh, she said, "Well, when you see it, you'll understand what I mean." Goku smiled at her, which made not only Rias blush, but strangely enough, Akino too. "Well, that's all, see you tonight," Rias said, ending the conversation. "Okay," Goku said, giving a thumbs up, which made the girls smile. Later that night, the members of the cult club were in an abandoned factory where the street demon was supposed to be located. "Goku, I want you to show me your battle skills against that monster tonight," Rias told the Saiyan while everyone else had something to say. "Bushu, I think letting him face the demon alone on his first day is dangerous," Kiba said worriedly. "That's true," Kaneko said, her expression unchanged but her tone revealing concern. "Ha ha ha, thanks guys, but I'll be fine," Goku replied, placing one hand on Kiba's shoulder and the other stroking Kaneko, who was happy with the caresses. "Fufufu," Akino laughed. "Then let's go in," said the dark-haired girl, to which Rias nodded. Once inside the factory, everyone was looking around for the demon, except for Goku, who continued on his way, knowing exactly where it was hiding. "Hey, come out from behind the corner," Goku shouted, surprising everyone because he found him quickly, just like he said he would. At that moment, a naked woman appeared from around the corner, and Goku, confused, asked his companions, "Is that naked woman the street demon?" "Don't let its appearance deceive you," Rias told the confused Saiyan, and at that moment the demon revealed itself completely, showing its lower half covered in fur, with 4 legs like those of an animal, and measuring more than 10 meters. "That's what it really looks like," Akino said, while Goku nodded, looking up and down the strange creature in front of him. "Well, whatever, all we have to do is eliminate him, right?" Goku said, to which everyone nodded. But at that moment the monster roared and lunged at the Saiyan, who didn't move. This made the others shout at him to move, but it was useless. In an instant, the monster struck where Goku was standing, raising a large amount of dust. The others were stunned to see their companion hit and were about to intervene when the smoke began to dissipate, revealing that not only was he unharmed, but he stopped the attack with a single finger. "Impossible," they said, coughing in unison, as if they had practiced it. "You're very weak," Goku told the monster, which roared desperately, trying to crush the Saiyan, but without any success. Disappears, and extending his free hand towards the monster, he fires a burst of ki, eliminating the monster without leaving even a trace. Silence was all that could be heard. Rias, Akino, Kiba, and Kaneko just stood there, staring wide-eyed and jaws hanging off what they had just witnessed. "Powerful," Rias said. "Impressive," Akino said, excited by what she had witnessed. Kaneko said, knowing what that attack was. "Too strong," Kiba said, thinking he was lucky not to be his enemy. "Well, that's it, we're done, right?" said Goku as he approached, snapping everyone out of their trance. Oh right, with this we can go home now," Rias said, stuttering but trying to sound as normal as possible. "That's right, since tomorrow is Goku's first day at school," Akino said, continuing to stare at Goku as if she had found something after a long time. "Akino is right, tomorrow you'll start as a third-year student, so prepare tonight so you don't forget anything, understood?" Okay Rias," Goku said, his tension at rock bottom because he had to go to school and couldn't train as he pleased. "Congratulations, Goku-senpai," Kiba said, patting the Saiyan on the back with a smile on his face. "Ha ha ha, thanks," Goku replied with a drop of sweat on his forehead. As they were leaving, Goku felt someone tugging at his shirt, and when he turned around to see who it was, he saw Kaneko. "What's wrong, Kaneko?" the Saiyan asked the loli. "Senpai, that was ki you used, right?" the loli asked, staring intently into the Saiyan's eyes, who returned her gaze with a smile. "Exactly, that was ki, why do you ask?" the Saiyan asked the loli, who had a difficult expression. "For no reason, just curious," she replied after thinking for a long time. "Kaneko," Goku said, stroking her head, which made the loli relax. "I imagine why you asked, but don't worry, when you're ready and want to talk about it, remember I'll be there for you." Those words surprised and made the loli blush, and she nodded with a smile. And with that the day ended and everyone went to their respective homes to rest because tomorrow would be the day that Son Goku would go to school for the first time in his life. Ode is our favorite hero's first day of school, although judging by his face you wouldn't know it, he still thinks that being at school won't do him any good and that it would be better to go train to become stronger. "Maybe I should leave now while I can," Goku muttered, but at that moment the doorbell rang. He looked out his bedroom window to see who it was. "It's Rias. I guessed she was going to try to escape," Goku said, frustrated. He thought that in the few days he and Rias had known each other, she was already able to read the Saiyan's mind. Just then, he leans out the window to tell her he'll be downstairs right away, to which Rias gives him a smile as if she'd won a fight, to which Goku looks at her with a raised eyebrow and finally sighs at his defeat. Once outside on the way to school, Rias looked at Goku, who had an annoyed expression, and with a smile said to him, "Come on, don't make that face, you'll see how you'll end up liking it." "Whatever you say," he replied listlessly. "It will be a good experience for you, and you might even get something you're missing," said the redhead, still with a smile on her beautiful face. "And that would be it?" Goku asked, intrigued. "Common sense, and you'll also learn about society." This was something Rias learned from Goku during the days she spent with him. The young man knew nothing and had no common sense, as he was only interested in fighting and training. "Now that you mention it, in my previous world they used to tell me that very often," Goku replied, now thinking that perhaps it wouldn't be so bad to learn a little. "That's the spirit, Goku. It never hurts to have more knowledge," Rias said, now with a wide grin as she grabbed Goku's arm. Era, Rias, you're very bold this morning." That voice belonged to Akeno, who was waiting for Rias and Goku along with Kiba and Kaneko, who was looking at Rias with envy. "Hey Akeno, what are you saying? Don't make me look like a slut," Rias said, red as a tomato, and letting go of Goku's arm faster than the wind. "Unfair," Kaneko said, looking seriously at Rias. "Mou, you too, Kaneko," she said, puffing out her cheeks, which made Goku smile. "Looks like you're in a tough spot, Goku," Kiba said, placing a hand on the Saiyan's shoulder, which left him completely confused. "Okay, enough with making fun of me, let's move on or we'll be late," Rias said, trying to make them forget about it and leave her alone. Once at school, Goku was guided to his new classroom where he was told to wait outside until he was notified. "Good morning everyone, today I have some news. We'll have a new student starting today," the teacher told the class, and everyone began to murmur. "Come in, you can enter," called the teacher, and all the students were waiting at the door, and it opened. "Open the door and our hero enters. Please introduce yourself," said the master. "Hi, I'm Son Goku, but you can call me Goku. Nice to meet you," he said, making his well-known hand gesture and showing his famous smile. At that moment, a silence fell over the classroom, only to erupt a second later in shouts and growls. You can imagine who each one belongs to DXD. The girls couldn't believe their eyes, it seemed impossible that the suit could stay on that body, and besides, he was very handsome. The boys, seeing him, were seething with jealousy, but things didn't end there, as an unexpected incident was about to happen. "Please, Goku, take this empty seat so we can begin class," the teacher said to Goku, indicating he should take a seat in the front row. "Understood," the Saiyan said simply and went to take a seat, but just as he sat down, a tearing sound echoed through the classroom. Everyone looked to see where the sound was coming from and realized it was Goku's jacket and shirt, which had finally given out and ripped. "Well, I knew it wouldn't hold," Goku said, taking off his jacket and shirt, leaving him only in a white tank top, revealing his muscular chest and arms. And that led to the girls starting to scream and approach him, touching his arms and chest, with some of them fainting from massive nosebleeds, and behaving like animals in heat. "Goku, please go to the teacher's lounge to see if they can lend you something to cover yourself with," said the teacher, leading Goku out so the girls could calm down. Okay, I'll be right back, said Goku, moving away as best he could from the females in heat. Women can be more dangerous than any powerful enemy, Goku thought, a drop of sweat forming on his forehead as he witnessed what had happened. The hours passed and at lunchtime Goku went to the cafeteria as Rias told him to so he could eat. Now he had a hoodie borrowed from an overweight master. Once at the cafeteria, he was the first to arrive, so he approached the lady and ordered everything on the menu, leaving her surprised. When the students started arriving and approached to ask for food, the lady told them that everything was sold out, surprising all the students who asked how this could happen, to which the lady pointed at Goku who was devouring the food as if the world were going to end. The furious and hungry students approached Goku intending to snatch his food, but they made a mistake, a very serious mistake, trying to take food from a Saiyan. This caused Goku to unleash a great amount of bloodlust as his eyes flickered between black and emerald and his hair stood on end. And the obvious happened, which was the fainting of all the students in the cafeteria and a few from nearby who ended up on the floor and some foaming at the mouth. Rias and Akino were heading to the cafeteria to check on Goku when they suddenly felt a surge of bloodlust that made their legs tremble and their panties slightly wet. They quickly ran out to see what had happened, but to their surprise, the closer they got to the cafeteria, the more unconscious students were being carried by teachers and other students. It looked like a battlefield. When they finally entered the cafeteria, they saw a happy Goku eating an inhuman amount of food as if what had happened had nothing to do with him. Goku, what happened here? Rias said nervously and scared. Oh, that, Goku said as if it were nothing. You tried to touch my food and I only gave you a scare. Was that a scare? Akino replied, surprised by the dark-haired man's words. Exactly, since it was the first day it was just a warning, but if they try it again I'll eliminate them, Goku said with a now serious look. And that was just for the food, Rias said, astonished by Goku's words. There are two things you should never try with a Saiyan, he told them, now to avoid future problems. First, never touch a Saiyan's food, and second, never interfere in a Saiyan's fight. So the comma comes before the fights, Rias said, and Goku replied, of course, food is sacred, in a proud tone that made Akino laugh and Rias sigh. It goes without saying that the incident turned the school into a small field hospital, as the infirmary was full and they had to use several classrooms to put the fainting students to bed. And so began Goku's school life. After that incident, no one dared touch his food, and so the days passed. Goku quickly adapted to school life, and sometimes you could see him talking very closely with Rias and Akino. Other times he ate out with Kaneko, and people were surprised to see the lowly, who never interacted with anyone, much less men, smiling and even giving Goku some of her sweets. When Goku walked around chatting with Kiba in the hallways, all you could see was a trail of fainting girls and others with massive nosebleeds at the sight of the two school idols chatting amicably. One day, while walking through the hallways, a young woman called out to him, "Excuse me, Son Goku," to which he stopped to see who it was. She had short black hair, red-framed glasses, and violet eyes. She had a slim but attractive figure, and she was beautiful. She was the student council president, Sona Citri. She has the same power as Rias, Goku thought as he examined the young woman. Something's happening, said the Saiyan. I don't feel anything for him, Sona thought as she looked seriously at the warrior. Let me introduce myself, I'm Sona Citri and I'm a friend of Rias, she said by way of introduction. That's why I felt you weren't human, Goku said, surprising Sona. How did you know? Did Rias talk to you about me? She asked, confused. Not at all, I simply sensed your energy, it's an ability I possess, the Saiyan replied, surprising Sona. Wow, that's an impressive skill, but I'd like to ask you something if you don't mind, Sona said. Tell me, what you need, Goku replied with a smile that made Sona blush. Wow, the rumors about her smile are true. It's very beautiful and innocent, the young woman thought. Why can't I sense any power from you? Sona asked. Oh, that, well, you see, I can completely control my power, and normally I have it suppressed, said the Saiyan, causing a raised eyebrow from the Sona. Is that even possible, and if so, could you show me a little of your power, please? She said, skeptical of Goku's words. Okay, you don't seem like a bad person, and if you say you're friends with Rias, I'll show you, watch. And with that, he began to raise his ki, and being so close, Sona felt it firsthand, making her tremble. At that moment, Rias and the others appeared, sensing Goku's power increase as he thought there was an enemy, and saw Sona on the ground with her legs bent, trembling from what she had just witnessed. "Are you alright?" Goku asked worriedly as he offered her a hand to help her to her feet, but since her legs still felt weak, she had to hold onto Goku's chest, which didn't go unnoticed by the young woman, who touched him. When she raised her head and looked into his eyes, she blushed intensely, but something pulled her from her little paradise. Ahem, Rias coughed, glaring at her best friend and the Saiyan, as did Akino, who just laughed. Ufu, but her aura said otherwise and Kaneko just said, opportunist, with eyes as cold as ice. This was an accident Rias, it wasn't my intention, I'm sorry Goku, she said, stepping away nervously with a face that looked like a red light. It's okay Sona, don't worry, Goku said, laughing carelessly. Then can you explain to me why Goku's power increased so much when he was hugging him? Rias said with a sour face, to which the other two girls nodded, waiting for an explanation. Don't worry Rias, what happened was that Sona asked me to show her a little of my power, and being so close, she was affected, and since her legs were giving way, she was leaning on me, Goku explained to the girls. Is that right, Sona? Rias asked her friend. Yes, Rias, I apologize for that, but I wanted to know how strong your new pawn was, and that was a mistake, she said to her crimson-haired friend, but I never expected its power to be so great. You hit the jackpot, Rias. Sona, you should know that's not even all of her power, Rias said to her friend as the others nodded, which left Sona with her eyes wide and her mouth open. The day we met I asked him to show his power, but it was so great that I stopped him, and he only showed me 10% of it. So what did you show me, Goku? She asked the Saiyan, who smiled and replied, about 1%. Sona couldn't believe that was 1%. If this boy decided to unleash his full potential, what would happen to the world? Well, son Goku, it was a pleasure. I hope we get along well, said Sona, tired of thinking, and shook the Saiyan's hand. Likewise, Sona, he replied with his typical smile, shaking her hand and making her blush. And so, each went to their classrooms to continue with the day. It had been 2 weeks since Goku started school, and now he enjoyed attending because he was learning things he'd never learned in his world due to his adventures. But that wasn't all he discovered, he began to feel something awakening inside him little by little. It was because of the evil pieces, which were starting to bring out his inner Saiyan. Things like feeling jealous when some idiot got close to Kaneko, Rias, or Akino were new sensations he'd never felt when he was married to his wife. One morning, on his way to school, a girl suddenly appeared from around a corner and spoke to him. Your son Goku, right? She was a beautiful girl with black hair that reached her waist, brown eyes, and a body and face that rivaled Rias or Akino's. This energy emanating from this girl is similar to one of the two that Akino possesses, Goku thought as he analyzed the young woman. That's me. Do we know each other? Goku asked, even knowing it was impossible for him to know her. No, this isn't the first time, but I see you every morning on my way to school and that made me interested in you, she said, a blush rising to her cheeks as she squirmed adorably, causing Goku to raise an eyebrow. And do you have a name? Goku asked, changing the subject. Oh yes, sorry, my name is Amano Yuma, she said sweetly. Nice to meet you, Yuma. And what's the reason you spoke to me? Goku said to the girl. I like you, Goku. Would you go on a date with me on Sunday? Yuma, lowering his head, asked Goku out. I want to know why she approached me, but if I ask now she'll surely not tell the truth. I'll go out with her on Sunday and hopefully we can get her real reason for approaching me out of her, the Saiyan planned in his mind. Okay, I'll go out with you. Thank you, we'll meet at the station on Sunday, and with a smile, she hurried off, waving her hand as she disappeared from Goku's sight. He remained standing in the same place, lost in thought, one hand on his chin, so much so that he didn't notice several people approaching him from behind. At that moment, he received a kick, which snapped him out of his thoughts, and he turned around quickly to find Kaneko with a jealous look, her cheeks puffed out, and her fists clenched. Goku Senpai, womanizer. Those words from the jealous loli were more painful to him than any blow he could receive from Vegeta or Bills. You're wrong, Kaneko, he said in a pitiful voice. Oh, so now you're going to deny that you weren't happily chatting with a girl who apparently left quite content. Rias said this with a look that could strike down a god. There's an explanation for all of this, Rias, Goku said, sweating profusely as he stared at Rias with a deadly gaze. Era, UFUFUFU, and what's that explanation, Goku? That was Akeno, who had a smile on her face, but she wasn't fooling anyone, because her aura was darker than the night. WUC, that girl approached me to ask me out, and I said yes, but that's all he could manage to say, because at that moment the bloodlust emanating from the three girls would frighten even Vegeta. A date, the three of them said, and that was it. They comically began chasing Goku as he ran for his life, dodging their attacks, while Kiba could only encourage him so he wouldn't die. Once they finished, and with Goku all dirty from the girls' attacks, he finished explaining the reasons why he agreed to go out with her. I see, it's a good plan, but it could be dangerous, Rias said, worried about Goku, to which Kaneko, Akeno, and Kiba nodded. Thanks guys for your concern, but nothing's going to happen, Goku said, knowing that Yuma's power was less than Akeno's. What if we keep a close eye on you, just in case? Akeno said, but Goku shook his head. It's not necessary. I don't want her to accidentally discover you and become suspicious, Goku replied, while gently stroking the head of the dark-haired girl, who didn't seem to mind. Take this, it's a call slip. Use it if something happens. Goku took the slip. You're exaggerating, Rias, he said, to which the redhead replied, I know you're strong, but you never know. And with that said, everyone went home. It was already Sunday and Goku was waiting at the station for Yuma. He was wearing a tight shirt and wide pants for better mobility, along with sneakers. When she arrived she was wearing a two-piece black and white dress which accentuated her breasts. Did you wait long? Yuma said innocently. Not at all, I just arrived, Goku said to the young woman, who smiled at him. So where do you want to go? Asked Goku, who had absolutely no idea about these things. Let's go to all the places we can, she said, taking Goku's arm and starting to walk. The date went quite well for both of them. They went to the movies, shopping, to the arcade, and out to eat, which left a strong impression on the girl as she watched the Saiyan eat. Once they finished eating, the sun was already setting, and as they walked, some men tried to take advantage of her, but they ran away when they felt the Saiyan's gaze, which said, this woman is mine. Try anything and you'll die. Yuma was surprised by Goku's possessiveness. Why did you do that, Goku? She asked, confused. Because you're beautiful and I can't let other guys cross the line while you're with me, he said with a smile. In the end, all men are the same, they only care about appearances, she thought, disappointed, remembering that they always saw her for her looks and never tried to get to know her as a person. Goku, can we go to that park for a moment? Said Yuma, who had decided something, and Goku nodded and they went to the park. It was already night and the park's streetlights were beginning to come on as the two strolled along. Yuma was falling further and further behind, and when she saw an opportunity, she changed her appearance, becoming taller, her breasts larger, and her body wearing a rather revealing outfit along with a pair of black wings. She created a spear of light in her hand, ready to pierce our hero, when he suddenly said, Is it your decision or were you ordered to do it? Goku said without looking back, surprising Yuma. How did you figure it out? She asked, to which Goku replied without turning around. From the day we met, I knew you approached me for a reason, so I agreed to go out with you to find out what it was about. He spoke in a serious voice, still not turning to look at her, who was holding the spear of light. So, will you attack me or not? She was confused because if he knew from the beginning, why didn't he do anything? I want to ask you something, Yuma. Didn't you have any fun today, or was it all a farce? Goku asked, still not looking the girl in the face. She was thinking that it really wasn't a bad day. They did a lot of things, went to many places she chose without any complaint, and he didn't look at her like a piece of meat but like just another girl, always looking her straight in the eyes without lust, and she liked that. I had a lot of fun, but if I disobey my order, they'll kill me, she said, fear in her voice. At first, the order was to watch over you, but someone threatened me, saying I'd kill you or I'd be the one who died. Now, with tears in her eyes, the fallen angel collapsed to her knees, unable to bear it any longer. I don't want to kill you, she sobbed. But at that moment, when Goku tried to comfort her, a spear of light flew straight towards her, taking her by surprise. She thought that since she couldn't dodge it, it was the end for her. I don't want to die yet, I still have so much to tell Goku, she thought, but that spear of light never arrived. When she opened her eyes, all she could see was a a broad back which stood before her like a shield, an impenetrable shield. Goku. Yuma cried out in worry, but her concern was unnecessary when she saw that he had the light spear in his hand, coated in ki. Impressive. He caught it with his bare hand, even though he's a demon. She said, which made Goku laugh. This is nothing, I just coated my hand with ki so the light wouldn't affect me, he said, giving the girl a smile. She blushed, but quickly looked up and saw a guy in a hat and trench coat standing on a lamppost. You damned useless piece of trash, I knew it was a mistake to give you a task like this, the guy said accusingly to the girl. You know him, Yuma. Goku pointed at the guy while looking serious. He's my boss, he's the one who ordered me to kill you. His name is DXD, he said, hiding behind Goku. Ha ha ha, kid, you know I've been deceiving you all the time, right? And that his real name isn't Amano Yuma, but Rainer. DXD said accusingly, pointing at Rainer. Oh, so your name is Rainal, I like it better than Yuma, he said, giving Rainal a full-face smile, which made her blush completely. Are you ignoring me, you pieces of trash? Said the winged one, completely enraged by the sweet moment. Shut your damn mouth already. Goku said, now angry, smashing the spear he was holding because the guy had made Rainer cry again with his malicious words. He moved Rainal slightly away from him and said with a reassuring smile, wait a second, I'll be right back. She nodded, and in that instant, in the blink of an eye, she disappeared from the winged one's sight. Where the hell did he go? DXD spat out as he created a spear of light in his hand while rising into the air, but it was useless because Goku appeared behind him and, clasping his hands together, delivered a blow to the fallen man's back, making a sound of something breaking and slamming him against the ground, creating a small crater. The fallen man crawled on the ground trying to get out of the crater, but his legs wouldn't respond because Goku's blow had broken his spine. Damn it, I can't die yet, the fallen one said, but at that moment, as he was about to leave the crater, Goku was in front of him, looking at him as if he were a piece of trash. You damned human, how dare you look at me like that, the great DXD. Growled the fallen one, to which Goku, with a gaze colder than ice, said. I don't give a damn who or what you are. You made Rainer cry, and that's all I need to eliminate you. And by the way, I'm not human, I'm a Saiyan, he said, as if to end the argument. Saiyan, those were his last words before Goku reached out and pulverized him. Rainer stared in disbelief at everything that had happened before her, still unable to believe she was finally free. It's all over, I'm free. The fallen girl thought, gazing at Goku with the eyes of a woman completely in love. He did it for me, she said to herself, giggling. Alright, with that done, let's move on to the next phase, Goku said to Rainer as he walked towards her. Next phase, she said, confused. We'll go see your boss, the one who sent you to spy on me, Goku said to the winged girl, whose eyes widened in shock. And in that way they were preparing to visit one of the leaders of the three factions, who would not expect the person he had ordered watched to appear before him. Our hero approached Rainal, who felt like she was in seventh heaven after Goku protected her from her former boss, DXD, by eliminating him. But this wasn't the end of it, as Goku intended to pay a visit to the leader of the fallen. Rainer, come closer, we're going to talk to your superior, he said, gesturing with his head for the girl to come closer. But how do you plan to get there if you don't even know where it is? The Fall asked, confused. That's not a problem, come quickly, and grabbing Rainer by the waist, whose heart raced. Placing 2 fingers on his forehead, he concentrated to sense the strongest energy, similar to Rainer's, and quickly felt it. They teleported to pay a not-so-courtesy visit to the Fallen, who wouldn't have expected the Saiyan even in their wildest dreams. In Grigori, in an office, was the former governor of the Fallen Angels, a man of medium height, with black hair in the back and blonde hair in the front, violet eyes, and wearing a brown kimono. In his office there was a young man with silver hair leaning against the wall. I haven't received any reports about the Mao sisters' new pawn for days, Azazel said, worried that his spy might have been discovered. Ha, look how much you like those kinds of games, Azazel. One day you'll regret doing things that way, the young man retorted, disliking the former governor's behavior. Come on, don't get like that. If what we felt was real, then approaching him directly would be suicide, Azazel replied, recalling 2 weeks prior when he sensed a power that surpassed all 3 factions and emanated from Kuo Academy. I still think you're exaggerating, and if that boy is really that powerful, then but that was it. He couldn't finish his sentence because at that moment the boy who was the target of surveillance appeared before them, along with the fall he was supposed to be watching. The two were speechless, unable to understand how he could have suddenly appeared in the room without anyone noticing or feeling anything. As Goku examined the two subjects in the room, the one with the beard seems to be the leader, but the one with silver hair also seems strong. He has a similar strength to mine when I participated in the world tournament for the second time, Goku thought as he looked at the boy. Rainer, could you explain why you're with him? Azazel said to Rainer once he had recovered from his surprise. She, who was hiding behind Goku while holding his arm, began to tremble upon hearing Azazel, tightening her grip on Goku's arm, for she knew what happens to traitors. Goku, seeing Rainer trembling and on the verge of tears, began to get angry. Why did Rainer have to keep suffering when she wasn't guilty of anything? Who the hell do these guys think they are? These thoughts ran through his mind, and at that moment he began to raise his power. Hey, you're the leader here, right? Goku said in a cold tone of voice. Hey, you know it's rude to enter places without permission, said the silver-haired boy. And who are you? Goku said, still not looking at the boy. Shouldn't you introduce yourself first before asking someone else's name? He said arrogantly. But I'll tell you as a favor, my name is Valley. Good for you, Goku replied curtly, still not paying attention to Valley, which annoyed him. Looks like I'll have to teach you a couple of ko, and he didn't finish his words because at the moment he approached Goku in a hostile manner, Goku extended his hand and launched a ki blast, slamming Valley into the wall, leaving him in a posture like an Egyptian hieroglyph. Impressive, he knocked Valley out in an instant, said Azazel, surprised by Goku's power. With that annoying guy out of the game, we can talk, Goku said, giving Azazel an even more dangerous look, who felt a chill run through his body. Alright, but I still don't know the reason for your anger, Azazel said to Goku, who continued to stare seriously at him. Were you the one who sent the guy in the trench coat to kill Rainer? Goku asked. The guy in the trench coat? Kill Rainer? I don't understand what you're talking about, Azazel said, confused by the Saiyan's questions. He's talking about Danesik, Azazel-sama. He ordered me to kill Goku, saying it was his order, and then he tried to kill me when I didn't carry it out, Rainer replied, still speaking from behind Goku. I didn't give that order. The only order I gave you was to keep a close watch, not to kill him, replied Azazel, who didn't understand why Danesik had done that. Goku looked into his eyes, searching for lies or falsehoods in them, but he found no falsehood in them or in his words. I believe you. I don't sense lies in your eyes or your words, Goku replied, making Azazel relax a little. Don't worry, I promise I will punish Danesik for what he did, Azazel said to ease the atmosphere. Oh, don't worry about that guy's dead, Goku replied as if it were nothing. Did you eliminate Danesik? Azazel said, surprised. Shouldn't I have eliminated him? Goku asked. Not at all, but I was surprised you eliminated it, and from what I can see, you don't even have a scratch, Azazel said, looking at the Saiyan who was clean and had only a small scratch. Trash like that wouldn't even be able to get my clothes dirty, Goku replied. Well, it seems everything is cleared up, right? Azazel said, hoping this wouldn't escalate further due to a misunderstanding. And with that they left, making the pressure disappear and Azazel feel tired only from that murderous instinct that would drive anyone crazy. What the hell are you, Son Goku? Azazel thought, still having more doubts about the warrior. At that moment, Valley, who had been out of action until now, recovered and looked around confused, not knowing what had happened. Azazel, where did that guy go? He'll pay for this, the silver-haired man said, furious at the way he was defeated. Leave him alone, Valley. If you approach him again, he'll surely eliminate you this time, Azazel said to the young man, recalling Goku's power. That power is not of this world. Not even the three factions together could give him a decent fight, and we'd all end up dead. Is he really that strong? Valley said, unable to believe that someone like that existed. I was able to confirm it, Valley, someone said from the gauntlet that suddenly appeared in Valley's hand. Are you sure, Albion? Valley asked the voice from the gauntlet. I can assure you, not even Red and I at our best could put up a decent fight, replied Albion, who witnessed everything while Valley was unconscious. He, that's interesting. If it's true, we just need to get stronger to be able to challenge him, Valley said while laughing, thinking that her boredom was finally over thanks to the spiky-haired boy. Goku and Rainer arrived at Goku's house thanks to Goku's teleportation. Upon entering, they found all the members of the Occult Research Club waiting for Goku inside. "Oh, guys, what are you doing here?" Goku asked, confused and not understanding. "Where have you been all this time?" "We were worried," but Rias didn't finish because she noticed Rainer holding Goku's arm with a love-struck smile. The three girls were stunned. They couldn't process what they were seeing, or rather, they didn't want to believe that innocent Goku would bring a woman home at this hour. Suddenly, they all smiled at Goku, but behind those smiles there was only fury and dark auras emanating from the girls, which sent a chill down Goku's spine, unaware that his life was in danger, according to what they said. "Could you explain who she is and why you bring her home at night, Goku?" Rias said, her aura red with black outlines. "Goku-senpai, speak," Kaneko said, cracking her fists. Era, Goku-san is a naughty boy, Fufufu," Akino said with a sadistic smile as lightning danced around her. "Calm down, girls, I can explain everything," Goku stammered, his voice trembling with fear, while Rainer watched with a question mark in her mind. Then he proceeded to tell them everything that had happened since his encounter with Danesik, Rainer's false orders, and his visit to Grigori. The others couldn't believe what he did, venturing alone into Grigori and going so far as to start a war against the Fallen all by himself, just because of a renegade fall. "You're crazy, Goku. You should have used the paper I gave you, and then we could have thought of another method," Rias said, sighing at how reckless the Saiyan was. "If it had been me, would he have gone to such lengths for me?" Rias thought, a little sadly. "Ha ha ha, relax, those guys were just lazy," Goku said, laughing and rubbing the back of his neck. Changing the subject, "Rainer, right. What do you plan to do from now on?" Rias asked as she fell. "I should be dead, if it weren't for Goku who saved my life even after knowing I wanted to kill him. He forgave me and saved me, faced Azazel-sama just for me, and said I was his, so from now on I will live only for him and because of him until the end of days," she said, blushing with a happy smile as she looked at Goku, who smiled back with a thumbs up. This caused the girls to look at Rainer a little jealously, seeing that she had gotten ahead of them. "Would you like to become part of my clan, Rainer?" Rias asked the fallen girl, which surprised her. "Are you sure I'm a fallen angel, you know?" Rainer asked Gromori. "That doesn't matter. If Goku trusts you, I will too. What do you think?" Rainer looked at Goku with a face that said she didn't know what to do, but the Saiyan just nodded in approval. "Alright, if Goku says so, then I'll be part of your clan," replied the fallen one. Then the ritual was performed using a tower as a piece, and in that way Rainer became part of Rias Gromori's clan. "Well, now all that's left is to find you a place to live," Rias said, to which Rainer quickly grabbed Goku's arm, surprising everyone and making the girls jealous. "It won't be necessary because Goku told me I could live with him, and I couldn't be happier to be able to take care of him, right Goku?" She replied with a smile. "That's right, that way if someone tries to attack her again, I'll be able to be close enough to eliminate them," Goku told the girls, who didn't want to accept it, but with what Goku said, there was no danger, since it seemed he saw her as a kind of sister. And with everything finished, everyone went home while Goku and Rainer stayed behind and sat down to dinner, which the Fallen prepared. Several days passed since the Rainer incident, and everything was quiet. Rainer entered the school as a third-year student on Rias's orders. Goku started getting along well with Sona, who occasionally asked him for help with various matters. Everything was going well, but one day Rias called Goku to tell him something. "Goku, I'd like you to keep a close eye on this boy." Rias showed him a picture of a young man with brown hair and eyes who looked familiar to the Saiyan. "I think I know this guy, he's pretty well known for being one of the Kuo 3 perverts," Goku said while looking at the photo. "I think his name is Hyodo Issei. You're right, it seems he's being targeted by someone, so I'd like you to keep an eye on him for me, please," Rias said seriously. "Don't worry Rias, if it's for your sake I'll keep an eye on him and if anything happens I'll intervene," Goku replied with a smile, which Rias returned as she looked at him tenderly. "I know, my Goku. I know," she said, placing her hands on the Saiyan's cheeks. And with those words they said goodbye, and the surveillance of Hyodo Issei began, who would become an important part of Rias's clan. That's all for today. Hit the like button if you enjoy it and subscribe for more.